So I adjusted my own kneecap, and I'm going to tell you that story, but it made all the difference in this knee injury that I've just experienced. So, hey guys, it's Alicia, and this video is an update on my MCL tear and my knee injury and how I'm doing and what I've been doing in the recovery process. So just today, actually about an hour ago, I was at the chiropractor's for the first time getting adjusted after the initial appointment that I made that I shared with you guys, my x-rays and those thermography readings. That was really cool. And he actually did something that helped so much. That was slightly unexpected, but he actually adjusted my tibia. It was very sore when he was doing it, and he uses a method where they use the metal gun. It's a torque technique, I guess. Anyway, so it was not a manual adjustment, and it was very sore when he was doing it, but I feel so much better right now. So that's actually like the latest update for you kind of in the moment here. I can go upstairs better. I can go downstairs a little better. I can stand with my leg a little straighter. I can get in and out of the car, bending and swinging your leg better. All of those things have felt slightly challenging leading up to now, not impossible. So that's exciting. I'm celebrating that. I'm also working with him on these other spinal issues, like my negative curvature in my neck or my straight neck, as well as the over curvature in my thoracic and sacrum area. So I'm getting that process started. I did some fascia release earlier today. I didn't actually know that I would be getting adjusted today. I happened to be there actually for other reasons and then got an appointment for myself. So I'm happy that I did the fascia release that I did. A little bit in my tailbone area, a little bit in my erectors, a little bit on my upper trap, where I have an imbalance left to right, a little bit of neck and scalene release, so that probably helped a bit. And we'll be monitoring that progress and sharing with you the updates on that. But really the past week or so since I last updated you has been a series of massive improvements and then minor regressions. So mostly I'm heading in the right direction on an upward trajectory. But I definitely believe I have a fully ruptured MCL. So does the chiropractor. That doesn't surprise me, but he did check my meniscus today, and it doesn't appear that I've torn my meniscus, and he doesn't think I've torn the ACL, but he can't know for sure without an MRI, of course. But he did the tests that show, usually like 85% of a tear would show up on these manual range of motion tests that he did. No pain, so he doesn't think there's a tear in those ligaments, so that's good. I'm pretty sure, and my knee feels pretty stable other than on the inside. So that's kind of the update on that. The swelling is mostly diminished, but the most notable thing I think to me are a few things that actually I want to show you. So I actually want to show you how I adjusted my knee and why. I'm going to tell you the why part right now before showing you how I did it. But basically, after the last time I talked to you guys when I filmed my other kind of updates, you may, if you watch those, remember that I had a lot of difficulty going downstairs. I was just brand new to going up the stairs, and I did not have full range of motion bending or straightening my knee. And there was still a bit of swelling, but mostly just this stiff feeling. And when I tried to bend my leg, for example, in bed, I would hold my hamstrings and kind of just support my leg and give a little bit of cushion. And then I would let my leg drop. I would get quite a bit of pain. It just felt like my knee was in a vice grip, like someone was just gripping it and pulling it in all kinds of directions. It wasn't like excruciating, but it worried me. And so I actually experienced probably 2 days of doubt and some worry and sadness. Stefan was looking at me going, I'm really worried about you. I never see you like this. And the reason I'm sharing that with you today is I never want to come across as always on this positive high horse and always optimistic and never down and never sad. And, my main message is that I want to embrace the whole journey. I'm okay even when I'm not okay. Like being not okay is okay with me. And I want to let myself have that process fully. My niece happened to be here. She is 15, just turned 16. And she was here for almost a week. 1 week after I got injured, she arrived. So note to self, I love her and I'm so glad she came. But if I ever get injured like this again, and I hope I don't, but maybe I will, a note to self, don't invite any house guests for at least a few weeks after injury. I think that was the primary thing that got me kind of depressed, because it took me out of being with my body and tuning into it and following its cues to do things that could move me forward. Obviously, I was really distracted. There was someone here that I wanted to entertain, or at least feel like I'm, making her trip out here worthwhile. And none of that is her fault. That's me being me. But I think that's partly what contributed to my sadness, because it happened during the period that she was actually here. As I just started to feel really down, I felt like I was regressing. I started to worry that maybe I did tear my ACL and meniscus or something else. And I was looking at a bunch of anatomy charts with Stefan and wondering if we should get an MRI, and even went so far as to look up places to go get an MRI. But after I did this adjustment of my knee, everything kind of changed. So it's kind of it was a wild thing. And after I did it, I ran downstairs, and I think it was like 10 o'clock at night, and Stefan was doing the dishes and my niece was here, and I was like, you guys, I did a thing. And I showed them, and I could actually like walk normally for the first time. I could straighten my leg and I could bend it. So it's kind of crazy, but the swelling went down immediately, dramatically the next day, and it really hasn't returned in the same way as the acute injury for those first, 10 days or so. So I'm going to show you guys exactly how I ended up adjusting my own knee. It was kind of accidental. I did not set out attempting to do it. But yeah, I want to show you what I did. All right, so this isn't exactly what I did, because when this all happened, I was in my pajamas and I was in bed. So after a day of, not really being with my body because I'm with other people, just felt nice to climb in bed and be like, okay, knee, how you doing? And I just, then I probably had it, propped up like this. I couldn't bend it fully or straighten it fully. Being on a cushy bed with blankets, I could kind of, rearrange as needed, helped. I couldn't actually sit like I'm sitting right now on a fully flat surface, but I just had this instinct, like the thing that was getting my attention was a deep ache in my quad fascia. And so I actually used the technique that I recently put out that's been a hit so far. And if you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's my quad and hip flexor fascia release using your elbow. So I started working on my quad fascia like this with my elbow, and made my way really close to my knee here. And I noticed just how rock hard this fascia was here, especially when I've compared it to my right. And I just started feeling around. I'm like, oh my God, there are so many adhesions all around my kneecap here, and it's just so tight. So I probably spent a good 10 minutes, honestly, probably 10 minutes getting, all the side quad, IT band fascia, everything around my kneecap. I was trying to feel into like what's on the inside, what's right on top, what's on the outside, got all the way up, did my hip flexors, and then something just told me, this is all instinct. No one taught me how to adjust my own joints. I'm not telling you to do this at home. I just want to show you what I actually did because it helped me so much. Instinctively, I just grabbed the soft tissue here, this tight tissue, kind of jostled it, to make sure it was away from my kneecap. And then instinctively, I just straightened my leg and pushed through my heel really hard while pulling back on this tissue. And it popped really loudly. And it felt so good. I mean, the relief was immediate. I immediately just felt better just sitting here. And then I got up and could walk somewhat normally for the first time since the injury. And then that's when I ran down and I was like, Stefan, I did a thing. And my niece was here too. And she was like, what? Like, what did you do? How did you do that? So I think that something here was jammed, and I don't remember if I said this in my initial story about the injury, but the entire time walking up those 6 miles and 2,000 feet of elevation gain when we had to hike out of the canyon after this happened, I just kept telling Stefan, I feel like it needs to pop. I just want to pop it. And I kept trying to pop it. But it also felt so vulnerable, and it obviously just happened. And I was getting all these snaps and kind of minor cracks on the outside here when I would walk a certain way. And I'd been able to continue that at home, which would give me like this temporary relief. But then I would feel like I need to crack or snap it again, like 5 or 10 minutes later. And for almost 2 weeks, that's what I was kind of left doing, was constantly moving, walking in a certain way. I think it was the video that one of the update videos where I showed you walking up the stairs, where I was talking about how I'd walk pushing off my toes, and then I would get this crack or snap. And after I got this really loud pop, I stopped needing to do that other gait to get the other minor snaps and cracks. So that was really cool. And then I also want to, while I'm here, show you a couple of other things that have to do with updates. So a few days after I popped this and got so much relief, something else got my attention. And I was noticing that even though I could, bend it most of the way, or really all the way, there was a little discomfort, and straighten it most of the way. I mean, it's not like hyper extended like this one, but it's, it's pretty straight, right? But I noticed while standing, it just felt like something was in the way here from helping me stand fully with my weight on this leg. So I don't know what it was, maybe 4 or 5 days ago now, a week ago, I'm not sure. But I started digging into my ligaments here on the front of my knee, and in particular started doing something where I would just kind of get in here and then do these different ranges of motion and, twist side to side, but mostly kind of bending and straightening. And there were adhesions. They're gone. They seem to be gone. I haven't actually checked until right now, but I think they're like gone. But there were noticeable little rock-like, pebble-like adhesions in maybe the patellar tendon here, or a different ligament, but something here was little, kind of had these little balls in it. And when I massaged it enough and moved through that range of motion and did some cross fibering of fascia release, I got another pop and got up and walked, and I could immediately go downstairs, like almost flying down the stairs, flying up the stairs. I showed Stefan, made him watch me. I'm all about celebrating the wins. And then this is the theme that I've noticed throughout this injury that I want to share with you guys, because I think it's important to name this and share it, so that when you're out there on your own healing journey, you don't assume that, maybe one day, if you know enough anatomy and physiology, or your body as well as Alicia, then there will never be down days, and there will always be an upward trajectory. So what I've noticed is that after this big pop, that initial one, I felt euphoric. I was walking. I was like, oh my God, it's so much better. And then I felt like I was regressing the next day, or the day after that, I forget. But shortly after that, I felt like I was regressing and it was stiffening up again. And so I had to actually like check back in with my body and realize that, okay, I'm actually working on tight tissue that is probably tightening up in a protection contraction because I have no MCL, and the MCL is primarily the stabilizing ligament on the inside, right? So other things are going to tighten up to create more stability, or maybe the swelling and stiffness that was there that I released when I popped it was trying to protect my knee because I literally could not straighten or bend it. And now that I can straighten and bend it, if I'm a dumbass and don't listen to my body, I could seriously re-injure this right now. So I think that our bodies actually do things to protect us from ourselves. And so I'm overriding my own body's wisdom here a little bit, but I'm also committed to honoring what my body's trying to protect me from, which is further injury. So I actually then had to go, okay, I'm not regressing. My body is just wanting me to protect this area. I'm not maybe supposed to walk normally yet. So I have intentionally allowed myself to continue walking like a gimp, dragging my leg around, even though I can walk in a somewhat normal manner, albeit a lot slower than normal. I'm normally a fast walker. The same thing happened after I did this. I felt almost like a normal person. Like I could walk normally, I could practically run up the stairs, not quite, but I was like doing it in my usual really intense fashion that Stefan makes fun of me for. And then within hours, I noticed what felt like a regression. And I actually think there's another phenomenon happening here as well, which is when you have the perception of normality return temporarily, but you're actually still injured. You might try to be normal again, but then you need a reminder that you're not. Like this MCL is going to take time to repair itself. It does not regenerate and, bring the ends back together overnight. So I have to honor that process and not be stupid. So that means I have to actually limit my range of motion a bit. I have to limit my activities a bit. I can't walk like a normal person because I don't have an MCL. So that's just something I've had to work with and accept and not get that frustrated about, and realize like it's a journey of this, but I'm still going in the right direction. And as I said in the beginning, it feels like I'm often taking 10 steps forward and then only like 2 back. And then I have another huge leap forward and then a step or 2 back. But some of those steps back are intentional to try to honor what my body was trying to do for me. Now, the other thing that I want to talk to you about in this video, and I know these are kind of long. I figure anybody watching these videos is interested in the minutia of injury recovery. Maybe you're not, and then you're probably not watching this. But there's so much that goes on in an injury. Like I'm utterly fascinated. This entire time I've been learning so much, and I have an entire list of videos I want to film for you guys based on what I'm learning that I didn't actually know or hadn't thought about because I had never experienced an injury like this. Okay, so once I freed up the initial rock hard tightness here in my quad, I noticed that my knee appeared to still be inflamed, but I was like, it just looks bulky, like something's in there. And so I started getting my thumbs in here. So there's my kneecap. It might be hard to see with these pants on, but I have these adhesions in what I believe is my vastus lateralis, or perhaps it's vastus lateralis and a ligament attachment site. I don't know. There's a lot actually running through here, and fascial junctions get the most fascially adhesed, but I have these adhesions running right under my kneecap. They're diminishing, thankfully, but they're still there. So I don't know if that's even visible on camera, but pop, pop, pop. Yep. And so I believe that that is partly why it still appears a little inflamed. They're shrinking, thankfully, not rapidly, but they are, and I've been kind of working on it a little bit every day. The chiropractor just worked on it a little bit. And this is fascinating to me. Here's why. And this, the adhesion that I found here, and the rock hard fascia here. Most people who don't know any better, especially if they're not working with someone who knows to check these things, may not ever become aware of them until later. Because we're going to focus on the site of injury, or we're going to focus on bone alignment, or, we're going to focus on what we're measuring on an MRI or an X-ray. And I would not have known about these adhesions unless I really dug in here and knew how to look for clunks. The chiropractor, when he got in here, did not clunk it one time. He hasn't been trained to. It's actually rather difficult to shear adhesions if you don't know how and you haven't had practice, especially in an area right by a kneecap. But I've actually gotten so close, like there it is. My kneecap is right there, and there's still an adhesion, and I've tried to kind of get under my kneecap, and it gives me the heebie-jeebies, honestly. Like, it gives me like the weirdest feeling that there's an adhesion in whatever this is, and it gets stuck under my kneecap. So that's something I'm monitoring, but it is so important, in my opinion, to not only pay attention to the injured area, but all of the surrounding tissue that gets involved in compensations. I'm fascinated that fascia can create such intense contractions that giant adhesions that weren't there a minute ago are suddenly formed. Like, the body can actually form pretty large adhesions in an emergency to create, to protect from a tear, to protect from a full rupture, to protect from the instability caused on this side, where, the body's going to create as much stability as it can over here. So that is just super fascinating. And while that's good in emergency, this left alone and not addressed, not good at all. Like, I don't want adhesions left under my kneecap, right? Like, that might lead to something else really bad, or further pain down the road. Or if I hadn't released this tissue here, I'm pretty sure it would still be rock hard. So a lot of clients will actually come to me 20 years after an accident, like a car accident or a skiing accident or some kind of impact accident or injury, and they still have rock hard tissue. That type of tissue, it's not exactly scar tissue, right? Because scar tissue is, like, I wasn't impacted here. I twisted my knee. That type of tightness, I think, is slightly different. It's a slightly different category, and it falls into the category of fascia that contracts really powerfully to protect you in an emergency. But it often doesn't know to let go afterwards, and often needs help afterwards to actually relax and melt back into its normal shape. So super important to monitor compensations and those protection contractions that occur in your fascial system in an acute injury scenario. So that's kind of the update on that. And just for comparison's sake, I wanted to demonstrate walking up and down stairs, because I'm going to celebrate the wins with you, because I'm doing so much better. So that's what I'm going to show you next. So first things, I guess, it's not perfect, but I can stand almost regularly, and actually this looks normal, and this is hyperextended. So now my hyperextension is really obvious, and actually the chiropractor was like, "Can it just stay this way? Can we train this one?" He was kind of laughing about that and teasing me. So I guess I should just show you my just normal gait too, and then I'll walk up and down the stairs. And I know this might seem really silly, but I'm going to take this opportunity to stress, and I'm going to film a separate video just on this, but to stress the importance of celebrating the wins and ingraining a healthy nervous system pattern through movement, and then celebrating that in the moment, So that's what I'm modeling right now. I'm celebrating this with you guys right now, just the ability to walk with a somewhat normal gait. So if you guys remember last time, I was kind of, gimping it like that. And I'm still kind of choosing to do that, like I said, to help protect my knee, but I'm capable of a fairly normal gait. It is not normal, and I can't walk fast, but my knee can bend and straighten. I get proprioception to my glutes. And I was not able to do that until I popped the knee. And then when I popped this part and released this, it improved even more. So now we can go up the stairs. Okay, so last time, if you remember, I talked about how the first time I was really trying to walk upstairs, I was obsessively looking at the stairs, and then I asked myself, what if I didn't look, because my leg was like swinging outwards, and as soon as I looked upright and just trusted my body, I could walk up the stairs. It was amazing. So that's still pretty good. I'm just a little bit faster now, and so that's what I'm kind of showing you and celebrating, and then I want to show you the downhill because that's even more of a dramatic change. Yay! Okay, so down, that has been somewhat difficult, and look, not perfect, it's a little weak, but I can move and I don't need to hold the wall or get super scared. So that's really exciting. Okay, so that is the update on my knee. I would say I'm doing really well overall. I feel like I know what's going on. I don't feel at this point like I need an MRI. I am still continuing to listen to my body, make adjustments as necessary. I'm trying to pay attention to my gait and my compensations and just taking notes about all the things that I know I'll need to address so that I don't end up with other pain later, right? And then I'm also trying to open up as much fascia as I can around the injury to get those nutrients to help my MCL knit itself back together and regenerate, which is just mind-blowing that our bodies can even do that. I do have a new morning routine that I want to share with you guys, but we're going to save that for a separate video. So I have some things that I'm intentionally trying to do on a daily-ish basis as I listen to my body. Some days I might take a day off, but that's going to be a separate video, like I said. So look for that if you're interested in following this healing journey and some of the routines that I'm putting into place to accelerate this healing process. So thanks for all the support and the love. I really feel it. I appreciate every comment and every email. Thank you so much for following along on this journey. Share any thoughts you have with me below, and I will see you next time.